Welcome back, y'all. Here we are addressing my personal cosmology. And this will be where I lose a lot of people, as they will see. I am not a strict flat earther. I do believe that the nature of the place that we are in has been obfuscated, and that the model we are given is a model of scarcity, a model of limitation, and that is by design. However, I have to confess that the sphere is pivotal to my cosmology. So I do hold space for the plus ultra, the more beyond concept, and that, the Antarctic shelf may be a, great wall, a boundary, and that there may be much, much more, as Admiral Byrd told the masses in his day. He had access that we don't have. He had a perspective that we don't get. I find it really profound, his name was Byrd. uh, quite the quite the miracle oftentimes how people, embody their name, carry the message of their namesake through history. So, my cosmology is an electric universe cosmology. My concept of Earth is that it is much larger than anybody has asserted. That the measurements of the Earth change depending on your location on it. All of this requires extensive reasoning and explanation, but I'm not going to go into that. I would call myself a buckyball earther. I would even assert that there are flat segments on the Earth. That some places are more spheroid, ovoid, and some are some panels may be flatter. The word carpenter in Greek is tekton, and we use the word tekton to explain the plates. So from there, that put aside, I do not subscribe to a flat Earth cosmology, but I do believe that the Earth is far vaster and there are regions unexplored and unexplained for a very good reason. I could be considered a hollow earther. I could definitely get behind the hollow earth concept. But moving forward into the electric universe cosmology, oftentimes in cosmology we have concepts of duality. And the electric universe has two forms of duality. There is the electric and the magnetic. Actually, maybe the other way. This would be the magnetic. This would be the electric. These are the two fields. And the two fields generate the unseen forces that we are locked into. In Genesis, the order of God was that man would toil in the fields. He said the fields, these are the fields that we have to labor through to work for our food, for our sustenance, and what we have is, this is a sine wave. This is the serpent. This is the snake. It has no feet, and it requires this movement, perpetual movement, to reach its goals. And so the sine wave is the serpent, the ups and the downs, the seasons, and I believe that this is the primordial construct, the zero, the feminine, the O, the net, the web, the plane of the orbital plane of the solar system. But originally, we were in an axial alignment. And that is part of Immanuel Velikovsky. That is part of his cosmology. It has to do with the golden age, that we once were in an axial construct and that the planets were aligned. I'll show that later. But if you think of these two planes, the magnetic and the electric, and think of the shape of the tree, the tree of knowledge. It has that verticality, that vertical struggle to come out of the soil. And then once it reaches a certain level, it expands horizontally. And then it can bear the fruit of this process, and life can perpetuate. And so, this is also a mushroom. This is also the mushroom cloud of nuclear fallout. This is the creative generative force, and it is expressed in so many ways right in front of our eyes every day. So it is pivotal to my cosmology and my understanding of how we got here and how we will return. All trees fall down in time. So here I wanted to bring forth, the Khepri beetle, and that idea that from Egypt that, a beetle was the primordial generative force. If you chart out what we are told, the Earth and the Moon, their orientation to each other, it has expression that looks exactly like the Khepri beetle in my mind's eye. And these legs pushing the dung around, they are the electromagnetic field that Earth expresses as it moves through the field of the orbital plane. And this field of the orbital plane is a sine wave. It does have its own bob and weave as we go through the seasons and our relationship to the sun. So I just wanted to put that Khepri beetle out, a few points. The fact that it's pushing dung, something that is a waste, is quite poetic, quite accurate. As we know, the moon is something of a lifeless place. It is conceivably, it is a debris. It is lifeless. It's a reservoir of what is unused, and it is also a shield. If a incoming body is about to strike Earth, the moon has collected many meteors, or whatever those things are, the falling rocks of the heaven, whatever you consider those to be, and they leave a pattern, an imprint, a story. It collects all of that debris and protects us. As many times as you've seen a pockmark on the moon, that's how many times the moon has protected the Earth. And I also believe that this magnetic field is something of an anointing. This is what gives us our electric field, our electricity, and even our ability to think. This is quite the blessing that this relationship exists. So, wanted to get that all out of the way, but this yellow line here is the sine wave that the beetle is following, much like we discussed earlier that the Khepri beetle uses the shadow of the sun to roll its ball, its dung, its waste into a perfect circle on a daily basis. So, all that being said, we can move into the Immanuel Velikovsky electric universe theory. And I'll just do a brief overview and then we'll move forward from there. So I put up the quote from Hegel here. The state is God marching on earth. And that quote, marching, it's very militarized. And March is the spring equinox. It's that 322, skull and bones. But it also is, we will get into later, may have much to do with the Squatterman theory. The Squatterman theory has to do with the electric field and some electromagnetic phenomenon that once was embodied in the sky. But we'll get back to that. And then I have Descartes here. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. And this has everything to do with electricity and the ability for man to think and the ability to know patterns. And patterns repeat themselves, much like a sine wave. And so the fact that we even have a brain is all in, we owe much thanks to the repetition of patterns, to the sine wave, to the cycles that give us thought. Otherwise, we would just be mindless, spineless worms. And I'm not into evolution either, per se. I do believe that we were created, but that creation was so profound that it's hard to even put into words, and that's why we've used stories and metaphor to explain them. So look up Immanuel Velikovsky, Electric Universe Theory. This is the axial alignment that he posits that the Golden Age consisted of. This is the statue, the wheels in the sky of Ezekiel's vision, and up here was a second system, the solar system, that the primordial columnal alignment entered into. That word Columbus is to look to the columns. And it's very likely that this knowledge and the columnal alignment has been maintained in certain societies. And there are those out there who still know these things. And Immanuel Velikovsky, I believe that he was suppressed when they sent Einstein in to slow down his progress. And we'll talk about that story next. Much love, y'all. Big up.